Hello, hello, my loves, and welcome to EQ with Jah, this guy. So, I wanted to make a message about my formula, the formula that I live by. This is a formula that I feel for my personal self I came up with. If someone wants to refute it, so be it. I experience life the way I experience life. But the formula that I've come up with, or at least that I've witnessed, is functionality plus purposefulness equals your truest desires and passions, or your passions fulfilled through emotional intelligence. What is functionality? Let's just start there. To me, functionality is anything that we get to do with our physical body. The whole purpose of the body is to what? Keep the soul alive, right? The soul is not actually dead, but the soul exists only within this flesh as far as tangibility. And this tangibility of hands and eyes and a mouth and throat chakra, whatever we want to call it, these are functions to the purpose of the soul. Do you understand? So we have the physical body, which is our brain, our heart, all the things that we know as human beings, that we have a consciousness to our operation. This is the part of society when it comes to sentient beings and inanimate objects. And I've talked about on my podcast, Animism, which is saying that inanimate objects have an energy and a life source. If you understand what that means, perceptually and conceptually, then you start to understand that the body, our flesh, is no more than this chair I'm sitting on. You know what I mean? Like, it's a chair. You're like, that chair is not alive. But is the chair not serving a function to your purpose? You could be sitting on the floor. Is this not correct? I tell people the same thing. I give a glass praise, like, oh, thank you for having glasses and dishes. See, some people think that's weird, but what you're gonna hold your fluids in? Your hand? Remember, our ancestors used to do this. And they're like, what if we came up with something that held this liquid? Cups. Praise the things that have function. This is functionality when it comes to understanding how the universe works. If you can't see that even inanimate objects that started from a place of either consciousness and making it more accessible to whatever species needs it, or just understanding that everything that you don't see moving on your level of what we call our visual clarity or visual sight, just because it's not moving at the speed that you can comprehend doesn't mean that it's not existing, alive, and has its own world of ebb and flow. So remember, the body is only a function. Jawan, this body, this thing we call Jawan, this is my body's existence as a function to serve my soul. Now, my soul, what is the soul? The soul is our purpose. Whatever we believe in, whatever you want to feel, you feel about whatever, there is no way to refute that you're breathing. There's no way to refute that we need water. We've proven without water or liquids, we get dehydrated. We freaking basically turn to dust. So we understand that there are elements and things of this world that we as humans, no matter how much we can categorize it, conceptualize it, make it into a word or script or whatever, it doesn't matter how much we study it, we still do not know what controls this life source that is this thing that is inside of us, that when we die and leave this earth, our carcass is left, the function and the ego, but the life is gone. This is soul remembrance. This is the purpose. This is when you have, it's very important, especially with children. When you see a kid who's really excited about something, don't crap on them and say, that's no way to make a living. You're right, because that's not how they want to make a living. That's their purpose and their passion being expressed through that purpose. Do you understand? If a kid loves to draw every day and they want to be an artist, don't say, well, you can't make money an artist. Well, maybe not all people who choose the field of being an artist make profit, but there's people out there who understand that if their purpose and passion are connected, the money will come. So this is where we have to start really paying attention to the things that get our souls excited and the things that comfort us. You know what I mean? Like, it took me a really long time to understand that I was a communicator. when I was I was a little kid. I was a really shy kid. I was one of those kids who didn't like to talk in front of people, believe it or not. I didn't want attention on me because I was taught that attention's bad. You don't want attention. If you're getting attention, you're doing something wrong. And so I learned how to be an observer in a world that was constantly happening to me, versus me allowing myself to remember my purpose on this earth as a soul that incarnated this body through the womb and the interactions of my parents, who passed on their legacy of spirit through ancestors. Remember, generationally, our spirit is connected to our cultures and our understanding of who we are, but that was also given to us through the cultural understanding of our upbringing during the times of whatever technology existed. Remember, we as humans are only as useful as the tools we create and use. So if we didn't have a tool back then it might seem archaic to us now, but then that was advanced technology. Now we have what we call advanced technologies, such as a cell phone, but there's probably more advanced technology clearly that we're still discovering. So this is why remembering the soul is so important, because the soul has done this before. If you believe in reincarnations, the reason why shadow work and trauma work and past life work is important is because there's stuff about yourself that you don't remember, but you think because you're in this human flesh that it's connected to this existence. It's not always connected to this existence, loves. I've experienced a lot of things in dreams where I'm like, this ain't got nothing to do with me, spirit. And then I'm thinking about it and I look outside of myself and I'm like, oh, that's my mom and dad's story. Oh, that's my friend's story. Because I start to see that energetically, the soul wants to remember who it is and who it was, and it wants to call back every single element that made it feel real. Remember, everything about our life, down to the organs we are, is a cell, something tiny, 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 that makes up a bunch of levels of 3-dimension to 4-dimension to 5-dimension to things that we can't comprehend, but it forms from something flat to a round organ that, because it's stacked on top of itself, it became a working system. It became an organ, part of a working system, and it remembers its function. You understand? I always tell people, anytime the body has a dysfunction or disorder, it just means that it didn't get the right coding. It doesn't mean that the coding is incorrect. It just means that as what we know what a human being is as it stands to where it's evolved, this is the coding that we have been, but we've clearly evolved over the years. So I really don't believe in calling someone else's evolution a deformity. So that's why I always say, whatever your body flesh looks like, that does not dictate what I call the performance. The performance is your soul's remembrance to its purpose. And so what I was saying is, when I was told to not talk a lot, I was shutting down my soul's purpose, which then messed up my confidence of the ego. And then I had this inner battle of who thought they were right. This is where you get this whole like ego deaths and ego battles, because the ego learns to protect itself from the things that it got hurt by during the times when the soul was a free expression of itself and was like, I'm a free soul. Woo! We met those kids. We know those adults. I love them. But at the same time, you do want somebody to be able to know how to pull it back sometimes. This is a balance of energies. When you learn what your dark energy is and your light energy is within your soul path, then you start understanding and recognizing why there's certain elements of function in your 3D world, which is your physical world, where we choose as humans to make free will decisions based on energetic emotions that we say have made us feel good. May it be from conditioning the womb or our ancestors culturally embedding it in us for us to remember. The next level is our consciousness. This is what we call the third eye, God, universe, all these things that exist outside of us, because there's an understanding that I know that my body is just a car or flesh. And then I also know that as the soul, I'm the driver of that car and this flesh. But as a conscious driver who's aware that I had to get this car from somebody else and then go on this journey to make sure this car or this body can handle whatever situations or elements I put it through, there's still a manufacturer who created it all. And that's God. That's the universe. Whatever you want to believe in, that is the next level of what we call 5D consciousness. Our 4D consciousness is just being aware of it, in my mind. I understand 3D is when you get to see like, oh, my body is just a body, I'm only here. But then the 4D, remember, the soul has its own conceptual mind too. So then the soul goes into its mind. To me, that's the fourth dimension of understanding. I'm an ether, I'm a spirit, I'm an energy that just exists. I'm like a gas. When this body cracks and falls away, the gas goes back to the environment and I start all over again. These are life cycles. Once you get through this cycle and you start doing it enough, this is when we start talking about past lives. You're like, I've done this before. Why am I having deja vu? Why does this feel so familiar? It's because your soul remembers it has a journey that it needs to fulfill as part of God's great design, which is divinity. Divinity always wants to keep creating more greatness of itself because divinity is infinite. There is no better than this or better than that. There's only creating something else that either helps or hinders our growth as humans, but for the environment and the universe itself, it has a bigger plan beyond us. This is why nature and things of disaster, what we call disaster storms and hurricanes and stuff. No, this is the body reacting to itself to say, oh, this don't feel good. I got to get this off of me. This is how our body works, the immune system. We get sick because the body's saying, I need to fight something and I need to put all that energy into this thing so it doesn't take over. So understanding that there's something always working towards bettering us, as long as we are co-creators and being part of the plan, then spirit will start to speak to us. This is where 5D consciousness comes in. This is where people who channel, healers, thinkers of people, anyone who's able to see something that never existed and create it into this existence. This is 5D consciousness. This is our God consciousness. We all are tapped into it because God created us. In order for us to be God, we have to be connected to God. We are only parts of God because God chose to make us so. But we are not God, so we don't have the right to take life from the things God puts life into. This is our understanding of consciousness. And when you walk into this world understanding that, then you start seeing that other things have a purpose and a function that's greater than our existence. And then we start understanding our passions and desires actually help grow the things around us for a better life and the things inside of us for a better life. Because then when you understand how to cultivate, when you can take all these seeds, I don't want to do with these seeds, this ain't a plant. Okay, well, if you see that seed represents your outside, which is, hey, I'm not flourished yet, but I'm here to learn, you plant yourself in an environment that's going to be fruitful or fruitful for your growth. And then when you start to grow, the coolest thing happens. After a few cycles and seasons and being weathered through the storms, you get to see not only the type of seed you are, you get to see the type of flower you produce. And if you're a good one, you get to be the fruit. And then when you see the fruit, you understand that the fruit is a temporary moment to say, hey, this life is here for me to appreciate and take it to the fullest, because once that fruit hits the ground and it starts to rot, it's going to decay back to the earth. It's going to become a seed. It's going to start all over again. So that's why we say life will always begin anew. But when you have the opportunity to see that your functionality plus your purposefulness, they will always equal your passions. When you know that I am here to serve a purpose greater than myself, but while I'm serving that purpose, let me do healthy things that keeps catering to that growth. Taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, taking care of your flesh, whatever that looks like for you, do it as long as it's healthy and functioning. Once you do that, then the universe says, I have a functioning, working vehicle that I can use. Why would the universe want to use a broke down piece of equipment no more than you would? No, we all want it to work. In order for us to work, we have to know that we are not in control of our use. We are only in control of the journey that we choose to be on and the pleasantries that we get to experience while we experience it. Okay, I know this is a lot to take in, but like I said, the type of videos I make are for leaders who understand that conceptually, when they're creating and making new life and making new concepts for us to all take in and go back and live, so that we can understand that, take away the hard work, we get to focus on the spirit work. Okay, so if you do the soul work, if you do the shadow work, if you do the past life work, then you understand that that's just the underground stuff that the seed always goes through. Once you come up into the light, it's just the cycle of ebb and flow, and you just be able to be a vessel for spirit to use you. And then if you're really good and you trust the process of the spirit, it will move you somewhere where you will never be harmed or hurt and only experience growth after growth after growth. This is legacy, this is foundation, this is our existence. All right, guys, I love you as always. Stay functional, stay purposeful, get connected to your passions. I love you, I love you, I love you. You can always follow me on my website, fsned.org, as well as YouTube and all my social media platforms. I love you guys. Stay well. Besos. Mwah, 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 mwah.